and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm joined by Nathaniel.
Hi James.
And today we're going to be doing a bit of wood turning. So I haven't had a video on the channel for almost 4 weeks now, and I've been very busy with other stuff, so I'm finally back in the workshop, and today we're going to be turning a segmented bowl that Nathaniel's kindly prepared. So hopefully we'll get a good result at the end of this, and Nathaniel will be able to teach me a lot. He's brought along his bowl gouge, so we'll have a good practice with that. Let's get going. So here's a couple of quick videos of how the blank was prepared. If you're interested in seeing a more in-depth process behind how the blank was prepared, go and check out Nathaniel's video, which I'll link below. But essentially, it's quite a bit of work, but once it's all made up, it can then be stuck on the lathe and turned into a bowl. Like any bowl, the first stage is roughing out, and we did this using a bowl gouge. Nathaniel did a practice bowl with me first, which was a piece of walnut that I'd half started, so he practiced hollowing the inside of that, so I had some idea of how to use the bowl gouge before going onto a blank like this. So we started with the outside and made it so it was a bit more round, and then we started roughing out some of the inside to remove the sharp corners where the blanks had been glued up, and also get rid of some of that glue. So you can see I'm starting to blend in the corners a bit here, and this isn't going to be the best tool work in the world. This is my first time using a bowl gouge, so please just bear that in mind. But as you can see, it was quite satisfying as the shavings flew off the tool. This was a piece of sycamore that Nathaniel had actually cut down himself. It was a tree that had been fallen over, and he prepared all the timber from that actual tree, which is, I think, is pretty cool. So there's a couple of different cuts you can use with a bowl gouge. You've got like a scraping cut, which is what I'm kind of doing here, and then obviously you've got your standard bowl gouge cut. And it's quite interesting trying the different techniques and working out what worked best. It wasn't hugely quick to start with, but once I got the hang of it, I realised how much quicker a bowl gouge is going to be than a round scraper, and it also produces a cut that is so much better. You don't get anything like the amount of tear out you get with a scraper, because clearly you have a bevel rubbing, which is much better, because yes, you can get that with a round scraper, but with a bowl gouge you've got so much more material on the tool, and it just gives a much nicer cut. And also the tool's a lot stronger, so in applications where I'm turning a bigger bowl, which I'll be doing on my new lathe when I try and push it to the max, and then things like that, you want a bowl gouge as it's just got so much more strength in the tool, as the actual tool post diameter is so much more strong. The sycamore turned really nicely, as all sycamore does, to be honest, and I think it was a good practice piece to use for the bowl gouge. Walnut's nice to turn, but the sycamore was even nicer, and it was really, really good practice. And I really enjoyed learning something completely new, and being taught by Nathaniel was really fun as well. It was a nice way to integrate sort of a project that we could both have a go on, and also teach me something, which was really cool. I should have said at the start, but the blank is mounted on a 75mm faceplate on a sacrificial piece of wood, which can then either be parted off, cut off, or you could have flipped it round and hot glued it, but not with something like this, because obviously it's already pretty open on the interior. So turning segmented stuff's a lot different to turning a normal blank of wood, because you've already got essentially the majority of the inside hollowed already for you, and you've got some of the outside profile shaped as well. And I found that really interesting because it made it a lot easier in terms of getting a general shape, as you've got something to follow, and it also provided a much quicker turning technique, because clearly you don't have to hollow out all that material, and you don't have to go and sharpen your tools as much, because you're not reducing all of that metal at the front of your tool, because you're not getting rid of a load of material. I think this bowl gouge was a 3/4 inch one. It's an M42 steel one made by Crown Tools, and that's pretty much the same that I've gone with. I've just gone with a 1/2 inch Crown M42 bowl gouge as well, as I really like this tool. It's got a nice weight to it, feels very solid, and turned really nicely whilst using it. So I thought it'd be a good idea to get this tool, and also it was the one I was going to get anyway, but it's quite nice that I've been able to have a practice with some of the Crown M42 steel ones, as they're just a bit better than the normal Crown ones or the cryogenic ones. You can see as I'm spinning the blank here, there's still a little bit of tear out, but compared to my normal bowls, there's barely anything, and I just really like the fact that it's so much easier to turn, because you haven't got all of that sanding that you have to do at the end. I could still get a decent finish with a round scraper, but the bowl gouge is just so much more superior in its cut, and it's designed for turning bowls. The clue's in the name bowl gouge. A round scraper isn't specifically designed for turning the whole bowl process. It's designed for, like, you can do the inside radiuses of bowls if you need to flatten the bottom a little bit more, or doing small curves and things like that. But a bowl gouge is specifically designed to turn a bowl, and it made it a hell of a lot easier. Now we had the rough outside profile shaped and most of the inside, I could start really refining the shape. So I took some nice big cuts here and took lots of shavings, and these shavings were so nice there was barely any dust to them. So now I'm just refining all of that inside shape, really making it nice and smooth, and just removing those glue lines. You can see I'm feeling here just to see where the glue is and what I still need to remove to make it all a nice consistent interior shape. And I did the same thing for the outside, but just consistently checking the wall thickness to make sure I wasn't going to go through it in any areas, because obviously some bits are going to be a little bit thicker, some are a bit thinner, so you want to try and get as consistent a wall thickness as possible. Now, apologies for me getting my arm and head in the way here, but I wanted to be able to see what I was doing, so I thought it was better just to compromise on one thing than try and compromise on two things, one of which would be safety. And you can see I'm doing the same on the outside. This is quite a nice shot we've got here, because you can actually see the outside wall profile being shaped, and you can see where I was starting to refine all of that outside profile. On this bowl, we decided to try something a little bit different, where we actually brought the top of the bowl back inside to almost make it look like it's curving back in, and I really like this. I think it added a really nice shape to the bowl, as this bowl is quite a deep one anyway, so I thought it'd be quite nice if we had something that was a little bit different, and Nathanael suggested we could maybe make it go in on itself, which I thought was really nice, and I'm definitely glad we did that. We then moved on to sanding, starting with 120 grit, working our way from the outside and the inside on one grit, and then we moved up to 240, 320, 400, and then I always just finish with a quick blast of 1500 grit. It was quite helpful having another person here, as we could just hold the Henry Hoover near it, and I have got proper dust extraction. I was waiting for my new lathe before I bought all the dust extraction pipes, because I want to set them all up. But it was a pretty quick sanding process, as the tool finish is so much better, so you don't really have to do that much sanding. And you can see we're kind of going through the grits quite quickly here. We then moved on to parting the blank off. Now, ordinarily you shouldn't really part things off the lathe if they're a bowl, but this was absolutely fine, as it's not a particularly deep bowl in terms of its width, so we were absolutely safe doing what we did here. And we took the sacrificial piece of pine away, which left us with a really nice, smooth, clean finish on the bottom, and then we had a tiny little nub that we could sand off at the end. Next, we applied a coat of cellulose sanding sealer to the outside, let that dry, and did the same to the inside. And then, as I'm sure you can guess, I decided to use Woodturner's blend to finish the inside and out, as that's my go-to finish, and if you're interested in purchasing any, I'll leave a link below. I need to restock this weekend, as I've only got one left in stock. I'm thinking about doing an in-depth video about how to apply Woodturner's blend, so if that's something you're interested in, then leave a comment down below to let me know. So we then buffed off the Woodturner's blend, and this left us with a really nice, ultra smooth deluxe finish on the outside, and then we did the same on the inside to also give ourselves the same finish. And I think this really brought out the shine in the sycamore, and also really showcased all the grain and the timber. I really like the different contrasting pieces of sycamore here, as because it's come from an actual tree as opposed to like a pre-milled piece, and I know they're all the same, but if you get what I mean, it's come from a tree that's actually been milled. It felt a lot more meaningful, and it felt like it's really been made from the ground up. We then sanded a little nub off on the bottom, and that was the project finished. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. This was an absolute blast to make, and I learned absolutely tons with Nathanael. I'm really looking forward to using more bowl gouges in the future, and the eagle-eyed of you may be able to spot my new lathe behind me. Now, this is a floor standing lathe. It's the AC370WL, and I'll do a video about it in the future, but I've just been assembling this today. It's Friday, the day the video is coming out, and I do have a new lathe. But back to the video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've got any questions, pop them down below. And yes, I'm finally back to producing videos. There'll be a video every week or two, depending on how busy I am. But I have loads and loads of stuff that's going on. I haven't just been sat quietly all this time. Thank you very much for watching.